family, Young Diesel here, and today we're diving deep into something that affects every single one of us behind the wheel. I just got my hands on the transcript from a recent Senate hearing that's going to blow your mind. 3 major organizations just went head to head in front of Congress, and what they revealed about our industry, man, it's going to change everything. Before we get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because this is the kind of content that could literally affect your paycheck, your safety, and your future in trucking. And trust me, by the end of this video, you're going to understand why some very powerful people don't want you to know what really happened in that hearing room. So here's what went down. The American Trucking Associations, the Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association, and the International Brotherhood of Teamsters all sat down in front of senators to discuss the future of our industry. But here's the kicker. They couldn't agree on the most basic question. Is there actually a driver shortage? Now, you've heard this narrative for years, right? We need more drivers. There aren't enough people willing to do the job. But what if I told you that 2 out of 3 of these major organizations think that's complete garbage? What if the real problem isn't that we don't have enough drivers, but something much darker? The ATA, representing the big fleets, came in swinging with their numbers. They're claiming that even during a freight recession, driver pay went up 19%. Their argument? If companies are willing to pay more during bad times, there must be a shortage. Sounds logical, right? But hold on to your steering wheel, because the OITA and the Teamsters are about to tear that argument apart. The Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association dropped a bombshell. They're saying there's no shortage at all. Instead, they're pointing the finger at something that hits way closer to home for most of us: inadequate pay and terrible working conditions. Think about it. If you're getting paid peanuts to be away from your family for weeks, dealing with customers who treat you like dirt, and sleeping in truck stops that look like war zones, are you going to stick around? Hell no. But here's where it gets really interesting. The Teamsters came in with their own data, and it's eye-opening. They're reporting incredibly low turnover rates in unionized trucking jobs. We're talking about drivers who are actually staying put, getting better wages, better benefits, and better working conditions. So if union drivers are happy and staying in their jobs, but non-union drivers are leaving left and right, what does that tell you about the real problem? Now, here's where things get really concerning, and this might make your blood boil. The ATA is pushing hard for something that could put all of us at risk. They want to lower the interstate driving age to 18. That's right. They want teenagers who've never been outside their home state to be hauling 80,000 pounds across the country in all kinds of weather conditions. Their solution to make this safe? They want to put inward-facing cameras on these young drivers and subject them to hair follicle drug testing. Now, I'm all for safety, but think about this for a second. They're essentially admitting these drivers need extra monitoring because they're not experienced enough, but they still want to put them on the road with the rest of us. The OIDA came back hard on this one. They're saying absolutely not to lowering the age for long-haul interstate driving. They're worried about safety, and honestly, so am I. An 18-year-old from Florida trying to navigate through a Wyoming blizzard or dealing with Los Angeles traffic? That's a recipe for disaster. But here's the really scary part about all this. The push for younger drivers isn't just about filling seats. It's about creating a more compliant workforce. Young drivers don't know their worth. They don't know what fair pay looks like. They're more likely to accept whatever conditions are thrown at them. This isn't about solving a shortage. This is about keeping wages low and working conditions poor. And speaking of keeping wages low, let me tell you about some of the corporate practices that came up in this hearing. The OOIDA specifically called out predatory lease-to-own scams. You know what I'm talking about? Those deals where companies promise you'll own your truck, but the terms are so stacked against you that you'll never actually pay it off. These schemes are designed to keep drivers in debt and under control. The Teamsters went even further. they specifically called out Amazon's Freight Service Partners program. Now, this is huge because Amazon has been trying to get their claws into our industry for years. The Teamsters are saying this program is designed to hide unsafe practices and avoid accountability. They're using a network of small contractors to do their dirty work, and when something goes wrong, Amazon can just point fingers and walk away clean. This is the kind of stuff that should terrify every independent operator and small fleet owner. These big corporations are finding ways to undercut legitimate trucking companies by using business models that, honestly, prioritize profits over safety. And when accidents happen, guess who gets blamed? Not Amazon, it's the small contractor who was just trying to make a living. Now, let's talk about technology because this is where things get really interesting. The ATA is pushing hard for autonomous vehicle integration, but here's their pitch. They're not saying AVs will replace drivers. They're saying it's just going to assist us. Sounds harmless, right? But the Teamsters aren't buying it for a second. The Teamsters are demanding strong federal regulations on autonomous vehicles because they know what's really happening. This technology isn't being developed to help drivers. It's being developed to eliminate us. And once that technology is in place, all those promises about just assisting drivers are going to disappear faster than a parking spot at a truck stop. Think about it logically. If you're a mega carrier spending millions on autonomous technology, are you really going to keep paying driver salaries, benefits, and dealing with all the regulations that come with human drivers? Or are you going to find ways to eliminate as many drivers as possible to maximize your return on investment? But here's something that all three organizations actually agreed on, and it's something that affects every single one of us every day: the truck parking crisis. Right now, there's only one parking space for every 11 truckers. Let that sink in. For every parking spot available, there are 10 other drivers circling around trying to find somewhere safe and legal to take their required rest. This isn't just an inconvenience, it's a real safety issue. When drivers can't find legal parking, they're forced to park in unsafe locations or, just keep driving when they really should be resting. And who gets blamed when something goes wrong? The driver, not the system that actually created the problem in the first place. The hearing actually showcased Little America Travel Center in Wyoming as an example of how things should be done. Free parking, clean showers with actual bathtubs, laundry facilities, good food, and staff that, honestly, treat drivers with respect. But here's the thing. Facilities like this are actually pretty rare because, they're expensive to build and maintain. Now, let's talk about something that's becoming increasingly controversial: drug testing. The ATA is really pushing hard for hair follicle testing, especially with marijuana legalization spreading across the country. On the surface, this sounds reasonable. We all want safe drivers on the road, right? But the OITA is pushing back hard on this, and honestly, they've got some valid points. Hair follicle testing can actually detect marijuana use from weeks or even months ago, long after any impairment has worn off. So you could have a driver who legally used marijuana in a state where it's legal, like weeks before getting behind the wheel, and they could lose their CDL because of a hair test. This creates a situation where drivers in legal marijuana states are held to a different standard than everyone else. It also opens the door for companies to use drug testing as a tool to get rid of drivers they don't like, even if those drivers have never been impaired on the job. Here's what really bothers me about all of this. Throughout this entire hearing, you've got the ATA representing the interests of big fleets, trying to find ways to keep costs low and maintain control over drivers. You've got the OEDA fighting for small business truckers and owner-operators who are getting squeezed from all sides. And you've got the Teamsters showing that when drivers have real representation and collective bargaining power, The industry actually works better for everyone. But the voice that's missing from all of this, it's the individual drivers who aren't organized, aren't unionized, and don't have lobbyists in Washington fighting for them. Those are the drivers who are most vulnerable to all these changes, and honestly, they're the ones who are going to bear the brunt of whatever policies come out of this. The upcoming highway bill is going to shape the future of our industry for years to come. And based on what came out of this hearing, that future could go in very different directions depending on which voices get heard the loudest. We could end up with an industry that, prioritizes corporate profits over driver welfare, where younger, less experienced drivers are pushed onto the roads to keep wages low. Technology might get used to gradually eliminate good-paying driving jobs, and big corporations could use complex business structures to avoid accountability for safety violations. Or we could end up with an industry that recognizes drivers as skilled professionals who deserve fair pay, safe working conditions, adequate rest facilities, and protection from exploitative business practices. The choice isn't really up to us individual drivers. It's up to the politicians who will be writing that highway bill. But here's what we can do. We can stay informed. We can support organizations that actually fight for driver interests, and we can vote for politicians who understand that trucking isn't just about moving freight. It's about the people who make that freight movement possible. What do you think about all this? Are you worried about 18-year-olds sharing the road with you? Do you think autonomous vehicles are really just going to assist drivers, or is this the beginning of the end for professional driving careers? And what's your experience been with the so-called driver shortage? Are you seeing more opportunities and better pay, or are you seeing the same old problems with different marketing? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this information valuable, make sure you share this video with other drivers. This is the kind of stuff that affects all of us. And the more people who understand what's really happening behind the scenes, the better chance we have of influencing the outcome. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell, and I'll see you in the next video. Keep the shiny side up and the greasy side down, Diesel fans.